of the Benjamin School Music Department students are going to play a solo with the Palm Beach Symphony Orchestra. And before we do anything, I just want to thank the members of the Symphony Orchestra and Mr. Kevin Smith for making this possible. Thank you. As you know, the Symphony Orchestra has been here several times, and they held master classes with our string students and band students. And I think that this is the beginning of a wonderful relationship. And it's so important for our students to play with professionals, to see how it is. And the feedback so far was very, very good. Now let me just say a few words about the pieces that you are going to hear today. All three pieces, there will be three pieces, and all three of them are from the Baroque period. Now, maybe you studied in art history or in regular history. Baroque period lasted between about 1600 to 1750. And it was characterized by sort of very embroidered style. If you look at the paintings of that period, or the furniture of that period, or even the music, it's very much very detailed and fast-moving. The composers that we are going to hear today, as I said, were born between, let's say, 1640 and 1680. And the first composer that we are going to hear is going to be Johann Sebastian Bach. He was a German composer born in Germany, and he was one of the most famous, if not the most famous, composer of our civilization. Amazing composer. And he wrote pieces for chorus, for orchestra, solo pieces. The piece you are going to hear today will be a flute piece. It will be played by Roya Shirzad. And this is, and this piece is, she's going to play two movements of a larger form of music, which we call an orchestra suite. It has many movements. And what are these movements? These movements are basically dances that people used to dance to this in different countries in Europe, like Germany, France, Italy, Spain, or England. But by the time the 18th century came along and composers began to write these little dances, people did not dance to it anymore, but they listened to it. So now you are going to hear the first part, the first movement. She's going to play two movements. So I want you to clap only after the second one. Okay? So the first movement is a minuet, and the minuet was a dance that sort of came around in Louis XIV time in France, and people used to dance to it. It's a very fancy dance for aristocracy. And it's in 3/4 time. It's called minuet. And the other part, the other movement you are going to is going to be very fast. It's called the badinerie, and that's from Spain. And that's going to be a fast movement. Okay, enjoy it. Good job. Let's bow. Isn't she great? Unbelievable. All right, now I forgot to tell you that Vivaldi was what nationality? Anybody knows? Antonio Vivaldi. How does it sound? What nationality? Any country? Italiano, Italian, yes, Italian. Now, the next composer is going to be from England, and he's Henry Purcell. And he was a very, very prolific composer, even though he lived only about 40 years. And the aria that you are going to hear is from a famous opera called Dido and Aeneas. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this. Anybody knows, Greek mythology? Who was Aeneas? Who was Aeneas? Okay, first Aeneas appears in Homer's Iliad. Yes, he is a hero of Troy. You heard about the Trojan Wars, yes? So he was a hero. And first appears, as I said, in Homer's Iliad. But later on, Virgil, the famous Roman poet, writes a whole number of 7 books, actually, about, it's called the Aeneid, about the travels of this major mythological figure, Aeneas. And this opera deals with the story that Aeneas at one point goes to Carthage, which was actually a colony of Phoenicia at that time. So Aeneas goes to Carthage, which is now today's Tunisia. And if you go to Tunisia, you can actually visit this city, although it was completely razed to ground by the Romans when they defeated, maybe you heard about Hannibal. So all these things is going on at this time, okay? So Aeneas goes to Carthage and meets the queen of Carthage, whose name is Dido. And he spends some time there, and they fell in love. And he stays there, but he's a reckless person. He likes to travel. So at one point he tells Dido that, I'm sorry, I have to go back to the Carthage. I have business to do. And she said, are you coming back? Well, I'm not sure. I don't think I'm coming back. So what's going on? She is heartbroken because she really felt for this person and in love with Aeneas. But when Aeneas leaves, then she is heartbroken, and she is so distraught that actually she dies. Okay? She doesn't want to live anymore. So this is basically a very sad love story. So the aria that you are going to see, and Kristen Hewitt is going to sing, is the aria that she sings before she dies. She said, okay, remember me, even if you left me, but I want you to remember me forever because I had a true love for you. So this is the aria, the lament, from the opera Dido and Aeneas by Purcell. Christine Hewitt. Okay, the last piece that you are going to hear today, it's also from the Baroque period, and it was composed by Vivaldi. Sorry, before I was talked about Vivaldi, but it was not coming up yet. So this is now Vivaldi. Vivaldi was a very prolific composer. He wrote over 800 pieces in his life. He lived in Venice, and then also at the end of his lifetime, he moved to Austria and Vienna, and that's where he lived. The piece that you are going to hear is a violin concerto. Don't forget that this is the time when instrumental music is beginning to emerge in what we call long-term classical music. Before, instruments were sort of relegated to accompany choruses. During the Baroque period, now orchestras actually are formed at different principalities or king's palaces or by the church, and they play music for the sake of music without accompanying a chorus or a soloist. So this is basically the emergence of what we know orchestral music. And of course, composers begin to write now not only pieces for orchestra, but for solos and orchestra. And what's characteristic of the Baroque concerto that we are going to do, it has two different little sections. What we call it a tutti, when everybody plays, the whole orchestra plays, including the soloist, and then the solo section where the soloist, in this case the violinist, is going to be a solo, and then is going to alternate between the tutti section you are going to hear, where only the bass or the keyboard plays. That's the solo part, and when everybody plays, that's going to be the tutti, or might be called the ritornello, the one that returns sort of fairly similar musical material. Okay, so we are going to play the third movement of this concerto, and it's going to be played by Flora Nagy. Thank you, everybody. Where are, hey, Christine and Roya, come up, please. Christine, Roya, are you here? Come up. Okay, thank you so much. We hope you to do this year after year. Have a great afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.